Two more wildcard games today, both of which featuring really interesting backstories. But real quick, we were able to go 1-1 in our picks yesterday. Kind of mad at myself for not picking the Texans because I did predict Flacco to have 1 or 2 turnovers, and he sure did, both of which were pick sixes. So that was kind of unfortunate, but 1-1 for our playoff picks, and let's move into our Sunday games. Packers at Cowboys and Rams at Lions. Of course, we have Mike McCarthy, coach of the Cowboys, playing his old team in the playoffs, and we've got both quarterbacks in the Rams-Lions matchup going back to face their former teams. Of course, Matthew Stafford from the Lions, now the Rams QB. Jared Goff was the Rams quarterback, even took them to a Super Bowl, now the quarterback of the Lions. I think both of those are going to be really interesting, and I think more so in the second game. It maybe plays into the actual result. But the first game of the day, 4:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff, is Packers at Cowboys. The last time these two teams met was last season. Of course, Aaron Rodgers was still the quarterback of the Packers, but the Cowboys jumped out to a big lead and ultimately blew that lead, Aaron Rodgers making a fourth quarter comeback. And Mike McCarthy has since addressed that, stating that he kind of made it a point to talk to the team about, that being his former team and it meaning a lot to him for that game. He thinks that was a mistake now looking back, and his approach, from what I understood, was going to be to treat this game and this team like any other game and any other opponent. I think that probably is the right approach, but again, like I said, I don't think him being a former Packers head coach is going to play into the result of this one much. This comes down to, can Jordan Love continue to move the ball efficiently and effectively on a good Cowboys defense? Stephon Gilmore got hurt last week. He is going to play, so still a stout secondary without Trayvon Diggs. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest factors. This is a defense that likes to take the ball away, and I've said it throughout the entire season, Jordan Love likes to push the ball down the field. He's done a really good job of not turning it over as of late, and I think that's the type of game the Packers have to play if they want to win this game. The Cowboys are on a 16-game win streak at home. That's now 2 full seasons of home games where they haven't lost. Going into the place where the Cowboys play the absolute best, I think the Packers need to rely on the run. They need to attempt to make slow, methodical drives, and they have to capitalize in the red zone, because it's not just the Cowboys' defense that plays so much better at home, it's their offense. Dak's numbers are substantially better when playing at home. The receivers play better. I think kind of like the defense playing on turf, they're able to just fly around. The offense really does play well in space, and from the Cowboys' perspective, I think trying not to turn the ball over, obviously in playoff games, winning the turnover battle is a big deal. But for them, I think they want to try to make big plays. I think what they do best at home is get a lead, try to make the opponent one-dimensional, and then have the pass rushers pin their ears back, Micah Parsons especially, just wreaking havoc on the opposing quarterback and offensive line. So, when it comes down to it, which of those things do I think is going to be more likely? I gotta go with the Cowboys getting a lead and just making it tough for the Packers to make those slow, methodical drives that I think they'll want to make. Coach LaFleur has this team playing really well lately, but I like Dan Quinn's defense. I think he's going to be a prime head coach candidate next year, so kind of a final ride with the Cowboys. Didn't mean to make that pun, but here we are. I'm picking the Cowboys in this one. I just think at home, they're too dominant, and the big kind of bugaboo for the Cowboys for 30 years now has been getting beyond the divisional round. The wild card round, I think they're going to be perfectly fine. The pressure's not going to be there. I think the Cowboys get the win here and make a move to the divisional round, maybe giving themselves a shot at getting to the NFC Championship for the first time since 1995. Maybe a bit of an omen. That championship game, which they won, by the way, to go on to the Super Bowl and beat the Steelers in Super Bowl 30. Technically, it was January 14th, 1996, the 95 season, but it was against the Packers, the last NFC Championship game the Cowboys played in. So, maybe a bit of an omen there as well. Regardless, going with the Cowboys to get the win. Moving to the Sunday night game, 8:15 Eastern kickoff, Rams visiting the Lions. We already talked about the storylines of the quarterbacks facing their former teams. Both teams are going into this fairly healthy. Couple of questionable players on both sides, Sam Laporta being the biggest one for the Lions, but evidently he's trending towards playing, and that's a really big deal. He has had one of the best rookie tight end seasons in NFL history. The one injury of note for the Lions that's definitely out tonight is going to be Khalif Raymond, but I think they're going to be okay, especially if Laporta plays. They've got enough weapons, whether it's Reynolds, whether it's obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson Williams has come on strong for them, and of course their duo of running backs. I think they've got enough on the offensive side that missing Khalif Raymond isn't going to be a big, impactful injury. So, we know that the Lions defense is not particularly good, and teams, including the Nick Mullins-led Vikings, have been moving the ball up and down the field on them for the last couple of weeks. Nick Mullins threw for 400 yards, I believe, in both games. We all know, going back to his Lions days, Matt Stafford can accrue a lot of passing yards in a game. He's very good at making the right read and getting the ball down the field, and chunk plays are a big deal for both of these teams. The Lions offense likes to make big plays. The Rams offense, whether it's Nakua, whether it's Cooper Kupp, Kyren Williams has been a huge deal for them, a big reason they're even in the playoffs right now. These are all big play guys, and I think this is going to be a high-scoring game because the Rams defense, too, has been pretty leaky this year. Not what we saw in their Super Bowl run in 2021. I'm expecting a very high-scoring game, and I gotta think we're going to see some interesting play calls, whether it's trick plays or just creative stuff to get guys open. We're going to see points in this game, and I'm really excited for that. So again, it comes down to two things for me. Turnovers obviously are going to be a big deal, and my one concern with Jared Goff is when it's all put on his shoulders, when the scheme doesn't get guys wide open and he has to, maybe move off his first, second read and try to make a play there. He's been prone to turn the ball over, and in a game that's likely to be high scoring like this, you really don't want to do that. You don't want to put that already suspect Lions defense in bad positions. I do think the Rams defense is going to be able to find some things to take away what Goff does well, because who knows better what Jared Goff doesn't do well than head coach Sean McVay. It's pretty well known, especially early in Goff's career. McVay did a lot to hide the inadequacies in Goff's game, and of course he's improved tremendously. It was really expected the Lions to be moving on from him, and now here he is leading them into a playoff run. So basically, if the Lions can scheme things open and keep everything on schedule with their offense, I think they win this game. If the Rams can create havoc on defense for Jared Goff, force him into his second, third read, force him to hang onto the ball, I think that's going to be trouble. And while the Lions know what Stafford does well and does not do well, there's kind of less to capitalize on in his game. He's a very talented quarterback that can make every throw on the field, and he's got weapons. So I think I'm picking the upset here. The Rams are a team with a lot of playoff experience, plenty of guys still left on that roster from that Super Bowl run in 2021, and the Lions are mostly new to this, and that can be a big deal. The playoffs are just different. There's a different speed to it. There's a different feel to it. And while I do think Dan Campbell is going to do a really good job of getting them ready, I think there's going to be just that little bit of an edge the Rams will have. And no doubt, Sean McVay has been drilling it into the defensive coordinator's head, the defensive players' heads, what Jared Goff does well and what he does not do well, and what they want to try to take away with their defensive scheme. So I'm going to go with the Rams to get the upset in this one. I really like the storyline, and it's kind of, opposite ends of that spectrum. Matthew Stafford's not out for a revenge game. He has nothing but love for Detroit. That's been made very clear by him. They let him go, essentially, to go out and try to win a ring, and he did exactly that with the Rams. The Rams, though, basically discarded Jared Goff to acquire Stafford, and Goff has landed on his feet in Detroit and is doing really, really well. So I do think it's more of a revenge game for Goff, but I'm not sure I like that. Again, if he tries to do too much, if he tries to play hero ball to, show the Rams what a mistake they made, I don't think that's in his best interest. So he's known to have an edge. He's known to be that type of guy, but I think it may come back to bite him. I love the story of the Lions. I'm a huge Dan Campbell fan, but I'm picking the Rams in this one. I just have a feeling that they're going to be able to pull it off in Detroit. So those are our two Sunday games. Really looking forward to both of these. I think there's going to be a lot of offense. I think we're going to see a lot of points today. And, of course, with the Steelers-Bills game being postponed until tomorrow, provided they don't do it again, and apparently there was still a chance of that, it works out really well for Wildcard Weekend. We get 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday, 2 games Monday. The videos should all be about the same length. We get 2 games to pick in each. And looking forward to doing that tomorrow. We'll check back on our record from today. As always, enjoy the games, and I'll see you next time.